My sister waited until my 32nd birthday party, when I was surrounded by friends, family, and my oblivious husband, to stand up, toast me, and say the words that shattered my life forever. There's no easy way to say this, but Jason and I have a son together. Please listen closely, because what happened to me could happen to anyone. If you feel something while hearing this, I'd be grateful if you stayed with me till the end and showed some love by sharing it with others. It was supposed to be the happiest night of my year. I had planned every little detail for my birthday party: flowers, music, my favorite cake. Jason, my husband, helped set things up, though he seemed a little off. I thought maybe he was just tired. He smiled for photos, but it didn't reach his eyes. And my sister Caroline, well, she was glowing, but in a strange way. She kept looking at Jason when she thought I wasn't watching. After dinner, Caroline stood up and tapped her glass. She said she wanted to give a toast to me, her amazing sister. People clapped, laughed, and leaned in. I stood beside her, smiling like a fool, holding Jason's hand. Then she said it. There's no easy way to say this, but Jason and I have a son together. Silence. Total silence. I thought I heard wrong. Maybe it was a joke. I looked at her, waiting for her to laugh. But she didn't. I turned to Jason. He didn't say a word. He didn't even look at me. He just stared down at the floor, hands in his pocket. My knees almost gave out. People started murmuring. My mom gasped. A friend dropped her drink. My world, everything I had worked so hard to build, just cracked right there in front of everyone. I ran. I didn't say anything. I didn't scream. I just left. My vision was blurry. My chest felt like it had a hole in it. I drove home, locked the bedroom door, and sat in silence. I wanted to believe it was a dream, but it wasn't. Later that night, Jason came home. I heard his footsteps. He knocked, said my name softly. I didn't open the door. I didn't answer. I lay on the floor of my closet, hugging my IVF journal, the one where I had written all my hopes and prayers during the hardest year of my life. While I had been begging for a child, Jason had been making one, with my own sister. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just felt empty. But something inside me shifted that night. The pain began to turn into something else. And that's where the real story began. I don't remember grabbing my purse or how I even got to my car. All I knew was that I had to get away, from the stares, the whispers, the lies. My heels clicked against the pavement as I ran, but I didn't feel the pain. I didn't feel anything. I drove home in silence. My hands shook the whole way. The radio played some soft love song, and I turned it off like it had insulted me. My heart pounded in my chest, like it wanted to break free from the betrayal it had just been handed. When I reached home, I didn't even bother turning on the lights. I walked straight into the bedroom, shut the door, and locked it behind me. My phone buzzed in my purse, but I didn't check it. I sat on the edge of the bed for a second, then slid down to the floor and crawled into my closet. That's where I stayed. My mom knocked a few times. "Rachel, please let me in," she whispered from the other side of the door. But I stayed silent. What could she possibly say that would undo what had just happened? When I finally looked at my phone, there was a text from Caroline. "You were never meant to be with him. We didn't plan it. It just happened." That's when the tears came. Not soft ones either. Deep, ugly sobs that felt like they came from the pit of my stomach. I covered my mouth to keep quiet, but I was shaking. My fingers found the old fertility journal I had shoved in the back of my closet weeks ago. The pages were full of hope, names I had picked for a baby that never came, prayers I had written like letters to the universe, promises I had made to a child I had never met. And all this time, while I had been tracking cycles and taking hormone shots, Jason had been building a family behind my back. With her. Around midnight, I heard the front door open. Jason. He called my name softly, like he didn't just destroy my life in front of everyone I love. He tried to open the bedroom door, but it was locked. "Rachel, please." I didn't want it to come out like that. "Can we talk?" I stood, opened the door just enough to see his face, and slammed it shut again. "Get out," I said through the door. "Don't come back." That night, I didn't cry anymore. That night, the fire inside me started to burn. The next morning, I didn't get out of bed. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed with messages from friends, missed calls from my mom, even a couple from Jason. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, my mind took me somewhere I hadn't dared to go before, back into the timeline of my own life, to the pieces I hadn't connected. And once I started pulling the thread, everything began to unravel. I remembered Jason's late meetings at work. There had been so many. He always came home tired, sometimes even smelling of different soap. I had asked him once, jokingly, if he was seeing someone. He laughed and kissed my forehead. "Don't be silly," he'd said. And I believed him. Then there was Caroline. She had moved back to town suddenly about a year and a half ago. Said she needed a fresh start. At the time, I had welcomed her with open arms. She stayed with us for a couple of weeks before getting her own place. Jason said he was just being supportive, helping her settle in. Now I realized she hadn't needed help. She had just wanted to be closer to him. One moment hit me like a punch to the chest. I remembered a photo I had taken last Christmas. We were decorating the tree, and I'd snapped a candid shot of Jason and Caroline sitting on the couch together. Jason had his arm resting on the back of the couch behind her, and they were laughing at something. When I showed them the picture later, Caroline snatched my phone and deleted it, saying she looked weird. I hadn't thought twice about it. Now I knew why. The pieces kept falling into place. There was the time Jason forgot my IVF appointment. The time Caroline brought over soup when I was on bed rest after an embryo transfer, and Jason had arrived 5 minutes later, saying he didn't know she was coming. Lies layered over lies. They had been together for nearly 2 years. That meant they had started the affair around the same time I started treatment. While I was injecting myself with hormones, crying in bathroom stalls, and praying for a baby, they were sneaking around like teenagers. Caroline, my sister. Jason, my husband. Both of them knowing exactly what they were doing while I stayed in the dark. I felt sick. Not just from the betrayal, but from how blind I had been. How trusting. How naive. I wasn't just mourning a marriage. I was mourning the version of myself who believed she was loved, who believed her family would never betray her. I sat up, my body aching with truth. They thought they had broken me, but they had only awakened something they weren't ready for. The pain wasn't over, but neither was the story. A few days later, I forced myself out of bed. My body felt heavy, but I had an appointment I couldn't miss. My follow-up at the OBGYN. It was meant to check on the latest embryo transfer. Honestly, after everything that had happened, I had forgotten all about it. I sat in the waiting room, surrounded by glowing moms-to-be flipping through magazines, their bellies round with hope. I felt like a ghost among them, hollowed out, invisible, angry. When the nurse called my name, I followed her into the room in silence. My doctor greeted me kindly, unaware that my whole world had collapsed just days earlier. She asked a few routine questions, then started the scan. A few seconds in, she smiled. "Congratulations, Rachel," she said softly. "You're pregnant." It took. I blinked. "What?" She turned the screen toward me and pointed. "There's the heartbeat." I stared at the screen, completely frozen. There it was. A tiny flicker, pulsing like a whisper of life. My baby. A baby. I should have felt joy. I should have cried tears of relief after everything I'd been through. But what I felt was a surge of something deeper, darker. My baby had come into existence in the middle of betrayal and lies. While Jason was building a secret life with my sister, I was carrying the life we had fought for, alone. I drove home in silence again. No music, no distractions, just my thoughts spinning like a storm. Jason didn't deserve to know. Not yet. Caroline certainly didn't. They had thrown a grenade into my life and smiled while doing it. They thought they had taken everything from me, but they hadn't taken this. This baby, it changed everything. That night, I sat in the same closet, holding my sonogram picture like a fragile piece of power. I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt focused. Sharp. I wasn't going to leave quietly. I wasn't going to walk away with my head down and let them continue their little fantasy. No. I was going to let them think they'd won, and then I would take it all back, piece by piece. My revenge wouldn't be loud. It would be smart. Precise. They wanted to play dirty. They didn't know who they were playing with. My story wasn't over. It was just beginning. The next time Jason came to the house, I didn't slam the door in his face. Instead, I let him in. His eyes were tired, his shirt wrinkled like he hadn't slept in days. He sat on the edge of the couch like a stranger visiting a home he no longer belonged to. I sat across from him, holding my sonogram photo in my lap, but I didn't let him see it. Not yet. "I'm not filing for divorce," I said quietly. His head shot up. "You're not." I shook my head. "Not yet." He looked confused, then relieved. "I know I messed up, Rachel. I don't even know what to say anymore. I think we should try therapy," I said, forcing the tremble into my voice. "We need to work through this. Maybe there's still something left." Truthfully, I didn't want therapy. I didn't want Jason. But I wanted time. Time to play the game my way. He agreed, of course. Guilt had him wrapped like a leash. He even offered to sleep in the guest room. I nodded. That would be best. When Caroline found out we were working on things, she blew up. She sent me a message that said, "You're pathetic. He doesn't love you. He never did." I saved it, of course. Like every other thing I was now quietly collecting. In therapy, I cried in front of Jason. I let him see a broken woman trying to forgive. He swallowed the act whole. Sometimes he reached for my hand. I let him. At home, I cooked dinner and left half of it uneaten. I told him I was tired all the time, hormones, grief, stress. He didn't ask many questions. He was too busy spiraling. One night, while he was asleep, I went through his office drawer. It wasn't hard. He still kept things sloppy. bank statements, emails, password notebooks. That's when I found the first sign. He had opened a credit line in my name months ago. I dug deeper. There was more. Jason had been using my identity to secure loans, one of which had been funneled into a lakeside property he co-owned with Caroline. I printed everything, copied files to a secure drive. I needed a full picture before I moved. Then I started planting seeds. I told Jason gently that I felt Caroline had always envied me, that she had once hinted he was easy to manipulate. I let that thought linger. I saw it hit him. His face changed just slightly. Doubt. Next day, I told Caroline Jason had cried in therapy, said he wished he had never made that mistake. Another crack. Every day, I said a little, did a little. I wasn't rushing. They thought I was healing, but I was plotting. Piece by piece, I was setting the trap. And soon, it would all come crashing down. While Jason played the role of a guilty husband trying to fix things, I played mine, the wounded wife, slowly rebuilding trust. But behind the scenes, I was setting up my final move. I hired a private investigator. His name was Ben. Quiet, professional, and very good at digging through dirt. I handed him every detail I had, Jason's bank activity, Caroline's sudden lifestyle upgrades, even photos I'd taken of strange calls between them. Within a week, Ben had answers. Jason and Caroline co-owned a lakeside cabin 2 hours away. It had been purchased 6 months ago. The down payment? Directly from an account in my name. I hadn't even known the account existed. Jason had used my social security number to open it and moved small amounts over time, just enough to avoid suspicion. He was smarter than I gave him credit for, but not smarter than me. I printed everything Ben found. Copies went into a secure folder. One would go to my lawyer, another to the police when the time came. At home, I played my part perfectly. I asked Jason for help reviewing some home refinance paperwork my lawyer had supposedly sent me. He barely glanced at the form, just signed them. What he didn't know was that he had just handed over full financial control, joint assets, real estate rights, and power over all bank accounts. He didn't even read the fine print. I smiled and thanked him, then made him his favorite dinner. He kissed my forehead and told me I was stronger than he deserved. I nearly laughed. Caroline, on the other hand, was getting uneasy. She called Jason constantly. One night, I overheard him whispering in the hallway, trying to calm her down. No, she doesn't know anything, he said. She still wants to work things out. Caroline didn't believe it. She showed up the next morning, uninvited, her eyes sharp with suspicion. I greeted her with a smile and offered her tea. She refused. You're planning something, she said, narrowing her eyes. I tilted my head, pretending to be confused. Caroline, I'm trying to move on. For my own peace. She didn't believe a word. And that's exactly what I wanted. The cracks were starting to show. They were beginning to turn on each other. He thought she was paranoid. She thought he was careless. I watched them unravel, step by step. The trap was almost ready, and soon I'd snap it shut. Jason started losing sleep. I could hear him pacing the hallway at night, opening and closing drawers, muttering to himself in the kitchen. The guilt was starting to eat at him, or maybe it was the fear that I knew more than I let on. Either way, the cracks were showing. He tried harder to act like a husband. He bought flowers, cooked once, sat beside me on the couch and asked how I was feeling. I told him I was tired and sore. That was the truth. I was growing a life inside me while carefully preparing for the downfall of 2 others. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Caroline found out I was pregnant. I don't know how she heard, but I got a text from her in the middle of the night. He told you, didn't he? You're keeping it to trap him. He's not yours anymore. I smiled as I read it. She was panicking. Her fear told me everything I needed to know. She never thought I'd still be standing, let alone carrying Jason's child. A few days later, Jason came to me quietly while I was folding laundry. He sat on the bed, rubbing his hands together. Can we talk? He asked. I nodded, pretending to brace myself. He looked me in the eyes, like he was trying to dig out sympathy. Caroline, she pressured me. Said you'd never give me a child. Said she needed me. I was weak, Rachel. But it wasn't real. Not like us. I stared at him, waiting. I want to make this work, he continued. We can fix it. I'll cut ties with her. I didn't say much. I just reached for his hand, nodded, and whispered, I want to believe you. What he didn't know was that my phone had been recording the entire conversation from inside the laundry basket. Every night after that, he said more. I listened. I asked questions gently. He admitted to the fake accounts, said Caroline had pushed him to do it. She's not who you think she is, he whispered one. She wanted to destroy you. Oh, I recorded that too. Meanwhile, I organized every document I had: bank transfers, property papers, emails, voice recording. I made a timeline that mapped out every step of their betrayal. It wasn't just an affair. It was calculated deception, theft, manipulation. A campaign to destroy me from the inside out. And now the pieces were all in place. Jason was unraveling. Caroline was spiraling. Their trust in each other had crumbled. She accused him of lying. He stopped answering her calls. They thought I was healing. But I wasn't healing. I was collecting. And now, I had everything I needed to end this. Not quietly, not privately, but publicly. I invited everyone to dinner, close friends, family, people who had been at my birthday party weeks earlier. I called it a healing night, a chance to move forward and forgive. I told them I was trying to be the bigger person. Caroline showed up wearing a smug smile, like she'd already won. Jason walked in behind her, clearly nervous. He avoided eye contact. I greeted them both with a soft voice and a warm smile. I even thanked them for coming. Dinner was calm, polite. I made everyone's favorite dishes. People laughed, made small talk. Caroline tried to act like nothing had ever happened. Jason kept glancing at me, like he was waiting for something. And then, after dessert, I dimmed the lights. I want to show you all something, I said. A short video. Just some memories. I plugged in my laptop, connected it to the TV screen, and hit play. At first, the screen showed a slideshow, pictures from birthdays, vacations, old family dinners. People smiled as they watched. Caroline looked bored. Then the slideshow faded, and the real video began. Jason's voice filled the room. Caroline said you'd never give me a baby. She pressured me into everything. A few people gasped. Next clip, Jason admitting to the fake accounts. Next clip, Caroline's texts flashing on the screen. She's a pathetic womb. A waste of a woman. Caroline's smile vanished. Her face twisted. Turn it off, she said sharply. More clips followed. Bank records. Property deeds. Screenshots. My entire collection of betrayal, spoken in their own words, right there for everyone to see. Jason stood up and lunged toward the laptop. But my cousin blocked him. Too late, man. Caroline screamed. You psycho. You set us up. I stayed seated, calm, watching them fall apart in front of everyone they thought they fooled. The room was silent, except for the sound of their lives crumbling. My mother sat frozen. My aunt was crying. My father shook his head in disbelief. I stood up slowly. I just wanted you all to know the truth, I said. Not for revenge, but for clarity. For peace. Jason tried to speak, but nothing came out. Caroline stormed out of the room. I turned off the video, closed my laptop, and looked around the table. I'm done pretending, I said. And I walked out. The judgment wasn't mine to deliver. I just brought the evidence. They judged themselves. The morning after the dinner, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in years. No more secrets. No more pretending. It was time for the final cut. I called my lawyer. The divorce papers were ready, and the evidence was strong. Between the recordings, the bank documents, and Jason's signature on the fraudulent form, I had more than enough. I also filed 2 official reports, one for identity theft, the other for embezzlement. I wasn't just walking away. I was walking away with the truth and the law on my side. I waited until Sunday dinner. It was a weekly family tradition. One Jason insisted we keep even after everything had fallen apart. I agreed, acting gracious, smiling as I prepared the food. The table was full. My parents, Jason's sister, a few cousins. Even Caroline showed up, somehow still believing she could control the narrative. Halfway through the meal, I stood up and tapped my glass gently. I just have a few things to hand out tonight, I said. First, I walked over to Jason. I placed a thick envelope in front of him. He opened it slowly, his face turning pale as he flipped through the divorce papers. Over 40 pages, each one more damning than the last. This is a joke, he muttered. It's very real, I said calmly. I've also filed criminal reports. You used my identity, stole my money, and tried to bury it. Now you'll explain it to the police. Everyone went quiet. I turned to Caroline next. I handed her a single sheet of paper, her termination letter. Her hands shook as she read it. You sent those texts to my job? You were HR, Caroline. Sleeping with an employee you managed while humiliating his wife. There were company policies. You broke all of them. She jumped to her feet. You ruined my life. No, I said, my voice steady. You ruined mine. I'm just ending the story you both started. Jason looked around the table, searching for support. But no one met his gaze. Not even his sister. My father stood up next. I can't believe I called you my son-in-law, he said, his voice hard. Jason looked like he wanted to vanish. I gathered my things slowly. I won't be coming back here. I'm starting over. And I'm taking the child I'm carrying with me. The silence was thick as I walked out. No more begging. No more breakdowns. No more explanations. Just freedom, served cold. Behind me, their lives began to collapse. Mine was just beginning. The ocean breeze kissed Rachel's face as she sat on the porch of her new home, her growing belly gently rising beneath her sundress. The house was small but full of light, peaceful, safe, and hers. She had planted lemon trees in the front yard. Something about their tart resilience made her smile. The divorce was finalized last week. Full custody had been awarded without a fight. Jason didn't even show up to the last hearing. Word was he was dealing with his own legal troubles now. Embezzlement was no small charge. Caroline had gone quiet too. After losing her job and reputation, she retreated from public life completely. Rachel didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She had something far more powerful than revenge. Healing. She sat with a notebook on her lap, the same one she'd used in therapy. But now it wasn't for herself. It was for her child. She began to write. My dear child, before you were born, you saved me. You gave me something to fight for, to protect, not just from the world, but from the lies I had let fester around me. You will grow up never having to wonder if you were wanted. You were. Fiercely. Desperately. Entirely. Her hand paused as a tear rolled down her cheek, not from sadness, but from release. Your father was not ready to love in the way we deserved. And the woman I once called my sister, she mistook cruelty for power. But I survived them. We survived them. Not by matching their darkness, but by choosing the light every single day. She took a breath, watching the sun begin its descent over the water. The waves were gentle, consistent, just like her resolve. One day you'll ask questions, and I'll tell you the truth, not to hurt you, but to show you what strength looks like, what boundaries look like, what a woman becoming whole again looks like. She closed the notebook gently. Rachel wasn't naive. There would still be hard days, nights when memories tried to haunt her. But now she had tools. She had peace. Most importantly, she had herself, rebuilt, redefined. She looked down at her belly and smiled. We're okay now, she whispered. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. It was better. It was real. It was hers. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. Do you think Rachel made the right decision by choosing to walk away and build a new life for her and her baby? Or should she have tried to forgive and hold the family together? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to hear what you think. And if you love powerful stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a single one. Speech balloon bell sparkles.